Hey,
Are you recording this?
yes.
Uh-oh, you're going to try to commit me to something and you don't want me to back out later, right? It's the only reason
No,
you're recording this.
no, I just figured it was time for us to do something, and I decided to do something completely off the cuff.
Oh,
So you may you may want to turn so the light's in your face rather than behind you.
nah.
Hey, did you see those pictures that I sent you of Column?
Yeah, I saw there was one picture. It was a group of men in front of the fire truck, and Colin was in the center of it.
I
Did you
just
see?
sent you more.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay. No, I didn't see those yet. I will. Okay. No, I will
there you go. That's better.
do that. All right.
That's better.
Yeah.
So I've been, this lady, I guess I need to get these glasses off and these glasses on so I can see. This lady is, I guess, Colin was her great great grandfather, and her grandfather is Joe Thomas, the guy who used to have the Christmas tree store up there on Electric Boulevard.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just, it's just kind of funny how that all comes together.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hadn't talked to you in a while, and I just decided I needed to talk to you, see how things are
Well,
going.
cool. I am making a little trip, a short trip. I'm leaving Thursday night for DC, and I'll be there until the following Tuesday.
What are you going to DC for? Oh, for your son.
Yeah.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah. They moved into a different apartment and they were all excited. And they've been wanting me to come and see their new apartment. And now they're condo shopping. I go, you guys, you can move again.
Well, that's pretty cool. When they build the wall, I'm petitioning that the wall get built around Washington D.C. because that's really where the wall needs to be.
And that's okay with me because now they live in Bethesda.
There you go. We
Because they
need to
moved.
have we need to have a big rally in DC that will attract them all
Yeah.
and then build a wall around it.
And then so you can carve a giant horse, okay? And
Yeah.
we'll
A
fill it with
Trojan
people
horse, if you will.
with spears and swords and we'll send it in there.
I don't know. I've been diving into so much history lately. I carve, it's kind of what I love to do. And
Mhm.
over the last several days, Kathy's been home. I don't like to carve when she's not home, for fear you know what I'm going to go with this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm for fear that I'm going to bleed out in the basement and die there, sadly as that might seem.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. So I was, and I have a friend that I met. I just get so fascinated by folks. This guy's name is Ray Kinman, Kinman, and he's a carver, lives in California, and he does relief carving. And relief carving that he does is totally amazing. Anyway, he sent me a link to his third great grandfather on his mother's side, who was a mountain man. And there's all kinds of history written about him. So I've been reading about this guy. What was his name? It's not Ray. It might be John. I don't know, but his last name is Kinman. And he kills all these bears and grizzlies. He unfortunately killed a lot of Indians,
Oh,
right after the gold rush. And
yeah.
anyway, I've been diving into this history and I'm going, man, you know what? I just love learning history. I've decided that I'm not as good as you are. Our Avon Lake history just blows me away sometimes, and I reflect back on that lady who told me that Avon Lake had no history.
Yeah.
It really is amazing.
Because I have been so tempted to start a presentation or article or something with There are some who might say that Avon Lake has no history, but and then kind of launch into whatever the story's going to be.
Well, it's totally, the more I know, it's Black History Month. And then I was thinking about, talking to Laura about the African American who owned all this acreage in Avon Lake. And then kind of, well, I've forgotten his name. I did know it, but and I thought that would be an amazing story to share, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but I have to find out more about it before we do that. But I don't know. So what's
And
your
I'm,
favorite? What's your favorite part of Avon Lake history besides, no, I guess I would have to say the cemetery, right?
oh yeah, because that's where the originals are. All the originals are right
Wow,
in
what a great
there.
title. The originals.
Yeah.
The OGs, the Avon
Oh
Lake
gee.
OGs.
Oh geez, that's right. They're in there. They're in
Uh,
there.
Man, well, it's funny because until I met you and I started talking to you about history, you've opened the door to so many captivating stories, between your books and just talking to you. It's amazing how much there is here, It really is. And like Arthur Cullum, I thought that didn't we have one of the people who played him?
Wasn't it Leach?
I was gonna say Kevin Leach, right?
Yeah, I think it was Kevin. And if it wasn't a character, we just kept talking about him. Oh, I think he was a ghost because he was the caretaker of the cemetery. So I think we just kept referencing him throughout the presentation. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's when you think about, remember when we had the powwow here,
Yeah,
and what that was my weak attempt at letting others know that the English were not the first ones on this dirt.
yeah.
And then I got into, I'm still fascinated by Native American history, and I've been doing a lot of reading lately about Mother Earth, and how they didn't natives didn't believe anybody could own land.
Yeah.
It's just, and when you think about it, you reflect back on those 200 years ago or whatever it was, you start to realize that we should have listened more and talked less,
Yeah.
you know? Anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm captivated by it all, and I'm diving deeply in. And now I'm unfortunately having to go back to work in March. I'm working every week. And I got to go, I don't know, did you end up seeing the MGP show?
I didn't.
It was really good. I think people see the title, The Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Yeah.
and they kind of roll their eyes and go, yeah, okay. I mean, it's not like it's Mame, or it's not like it's, My Fair Lady or Oklahoma, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but it was well done. And at the end, I had tears in my eyes
Huh.
because you start to realize the depth of this story, and, Quasimodo's fate, and how it was just well done. And I was sitting there in that auditorium going, man, we need to do our play there. We need to do our play there. So
I've got to find the script. It's on my computer, but
I, ha- I have a I have a whole book of it. I saved mine.
and I'm gonna send it off to a guy in Oberlin who goes to our church, and he has a group that gets together and they just do read throughs of plays, just for fun. And he said he'd love to look at mine and take it to his group and have them do a read through. And I said, yeah, I'll send you the script. So, but now I got to find it and send
Well,
it.
and I guess well, I think I have a copy of it on my hard drive. But I guess that, and this is just me and my ramblings, my machinations about the play, is if we were to redo it again, which I would love to have an opportunity. I don't even need to be in it. I just think we did a great job with it. I think we could embellish it and make it an hour and a half, or almost, a little longer, with you know what I'm saying? There's so many parts of that story that didn't get told.
Well, and we could also, if we incorporated music, That always extends the piece. You know, and it was the jazz era, and it would just be so easy
Oh,
to incorporate more music between scenes or during scenes, or, you know, the tea ladies, they come to the speakeasy, they could be sitting there doing their shtick, and then when they're done, in comes this jazz band, and they can all just be aghast, but secretly they're loving it. You know, they've got the looks on their faces, but they're tapping their toes and drumming their fingers on the you know, that kind of
and
thing.
that'd be a great way to embellish it. You know, the music,
Hmm.
bringing period correct kind of music in, and I'm
Yeah,
sure we could find a trio or a quartet that could come in and do that. I just I think there's so many more stories to tell there. Then I last night um, we went to Stocker Center, Stocker. I forget. I think it's called Hoke,
yeah,
um, right?
theater, yeah.
And we saw the Drifters. Now the Drifters, the original Drifters, are all dead, but they're like the Temptations. They keep their title, and they kept they're still called the Drifters, and they're all musicians, and they were great. And unfortunately, I think because it was a Sunday night, I think
Yeah,
that theater holds 900 people. Uh,
really.
there was probably 150, 200 people at the most there, and that was kind of disappointing. I'm sure the musicians, I know how hard it is to do that when you got 10 people when you're expecting
Yeah,
200, you know.
yeah.
But I found out something that they rent that theater.
Wow.
So, and they have special ratings prices for not for profits.
Huh.
So now I'm thinking, you know, of course your name comes into my head. I'm going, I wonder if Sherry knows that. I mean, we could make it a county-wide kind of a thing and find out what it costs to rent it. Now it could be, I don't know, way outside of the ballpark, but who knows? Who knows what that's available? But I kind of like doing it at the winery because it's speakeasy-ish.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, and all the wine bottles are around and all the
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know that's going on in my head, you know, and I'm sitting here thinking about, you know, I've had a lot of downtime of the last 2 weeks. My wife's working and I'm not carving when she's not home again. So I'm in here, or I'm in there, I'm running around, and I'm thinking, man, wouldn't it be cool to bring that back, you know? And then I thought about our minute of history or two, and it's time for us to do one of those. And I don't know. I just thought I would Zoom with you and record something. Maybe I can piece together some history from our conversation this morning. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
a spontaneous MOH.
Yeah.
Oh no. No, I like to I like to know where I'm going with that. No.
You're such a coward.
Besides, you wanted to do one on language and words, and so I
Yes.
that's gonna be our next one.
That one, and I love it. I love the fact that when I'm looking at old documents, I have to mentally translate what in the heck they're talking about because the language. You know what I was thinking the other day? I
What?
was thinking that, um, you know, I was watching some old Western, you know, Glenn Ford. Think about that one for a minute.
Yeah,
And they were on a horse and buggy and they were going across wherever they were at, probably some set in California. But, you know, they didn't go very fast.
yeah,
And when they start out from here to go out west, young man, those wagons did not go very. I mean, they weren't much faster than you walking, and in fact, people walked alongside of them. So
yeah.
basically, they walked across the country.
Yes, they did. I
And
know.
I
I
mean,
think about that, and I just, oh my goodness.
well, this guy, this Kidman that I was sharing with you earlier, he walked across the United States 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 times, and it's
Wow.
documented, you know. And I'm going, and that's if you wanted to go from here to San Francisco, you either got in a horse or you got into some kind of a Conestoga wagon or you walked. And
Yeah.
I guess taking your time in walking certainly has some merit. I mean, it'd be cool to do that, but I
Yeah.
can't get people to walk from the high school to the Folger home for an event.
That's pretty sad.
I know. We really become, and I'm guilty of it as well. We've really become lazy.
I love to walk. I have
I
not
see
been
you
going
walking all the time.
because it's just so darn cold out there, you
Yeah.
know? And my fingers get cold and get numb and blah 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 blah.
Well, it's 33 today and the sun's out. As long as the sun's out, it ain't bad. In fact, the light from this window right here comes in and it illuminates me for these videos because and when it's cloudy, I don't get nearly enough light. But
Yeah. Yep.
so anyway, that's what I thought. So I was thinking about it, and I've got we went and met the Novotnys. Mike Judge is married into the Novotny clan, and we all went to see the first fire truck. And I got to meet some of his family, and we took some pictures. And I think Cleveland.com is supposed to have an article about it, but I haven't seen it yet. Um, and then this one young woman, I guess she's young, I don't even know, but she's sending me pictures of Arthur Cullum, and I'm like, man, you know, I just love our history. I do. I love, and I realize I'm talking a lot. It's because I had 3 cups of coffee instead of 2. Um, I realized that I've loved history from day one. The only class I ever did good in school, and I'm assuming I did good in it, I don't remember, was history. Because when I read those stories, they always came to life.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We've talked about getting chicken skin, right?
Getting what? Chicken?
Goosebumps when you
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
somebody else told me once called it chicken skin.
I'm thinking, what other project did I agree to? I'm not going to chop heads off of chickens. No. uh,
But you talk about it. Remember when we talked about you went to a place? I forget. Tell me about that again. You remember
yeah,
it?
I was in elementary school and we visited, and I wish I could figure out where it was we went. But you walk through and there were some original furnishings, or maybe they collected them, but they were vintage furnishings. And I remember there was an old trunk there, and walking through there, I just thought people lived here. Real people lived here. And it was so believable because this was their stuff. That was their trunk. That was the chair that somebody sat in. And it was the same with the old cemetery. When I was a kid, I don't even know how old I was, not very. And my 2 siblings and I, because we were so close in age, we just kind of hung out. We were our own play group, right? I remember us going to the old cemetery and walking through there, and it was overgrown with brambles and prickers and high weeds, but we kind of poke our way through and we'd find a headstone, and we were just fascinated with, wow, look at this one, it says Jaycox on it. And you couldn't see all of them because they were so overgrown with you know stuff.
Yeah.
But even back then, I had a fascination with the cemetery. It just started so early on.
Yeah. I just I received a nice gift from a friend this past week. He gave me, I think I may have shared it with you, I don't know, but I have 3 Civil War bullets, a mini ball, a musket ball, and 2 mini balls, and they're Confederate, and they're from Gettysburg,
Yeah,
and they've been documented. So they're not like, because a lot of Civil War stuff has been copied, and it's not authentic. It's just
yeah,
fake, and then they try to get you to buy it. But um, I remember having, I think I may have shared this with you in the past. I remember having a copy of the front page of some newspaper from the day after Lincoln was assassinated. And I remember reading it and going through it and going, and it gave me goosebumps.
yeah,
I remember it. And then I took it into my 4th grade. Was it 4th grade or was it was 4th grade, Mrs. Ullery. and I shared it. You know, you had show and tell, and of course Tony was never shy. I always had something to show and tell, and I took it, and I was so captivated by that newspaper. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, but of course, I'm sure that my classmates are going, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah, what's he up to?
Yep. But I gave the whole thing to Mrs. Ulrey, and of course, I never saw it again. Well, because that's again my nature. And
Oh,
I look back at that now, and I give things away all the time. And then after the fact, I'm going, why did I do that? I don't, I can't figure out I'm sure there's some kind of psychological, you know, void in my life that causes me to do that.
remorse.
Yes.
I
But
need more remorse.
I've always loved the history gives me goosebumps, you know? So anyway, it was really great to get those Civil War bullets, you know, and I have other things that I've gotten. My grandfather's bayonet from World War One that he got from a dead German is on my shelf over here, and you know,
Wow.
it's just
My youngest sister, the one in Fargo, has a rifle that my father gave her, that my father got in Virginia from I don't know how he got it or why he was in possession of it. But the story that went with the rifle was that it was a rifle used in the Civil War, and somebody got the rifle, and I was it the U? No, I think it was a Confederate rifle, and here's why I think that. And that's just a story. So my sister took it to someone she knew who was really into um, investigating this kind of stuff and knew a lot about guns and how they were assembled and everything. And he said the legend is probably true because this is a British made gun, and the British supplied arms to the Confederates. And probably somebody got this from a dead Confederate soldier and, passed it on along too. And now it's in my sister's hands. So she probably really does have an actual Confederate
that's
rifle.
so cool.
War.
That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah,
I mean,
doesn't
to
it?
think about it, and you know, and I see it in three dimensions. I see history three dimensionally. I see that gun wherever it is being held by somebody from Mississippi or whoever, but
Yeah.
a Johnny Reb, and that he gets killed, and this gun gets ground, you know, onto the ground, and then somebody picks it up, and now it's in your sister's house.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
Yeah.
blows me away. Blows. I don't know why I get so excited over history. I just don't. And I know it's a sickness. You know,
Either that or maybe, do you ever read articles about DNA and how now they're theorizing that
I try not to.
the DNA may also contain memory,
Oh, really?
which means there may be memory being passed on from generation to generation. Yeah,
Wow.
and I don't understand DNA because I'm not a science person, but I've always wondered about these children who are children of musicians who are professional people, and these kids are at 12 years old playing a violin like an adult, and you think, okay, I get it, you're around it, you hear it all the time. We play music all the time. That doesn't mean that we can reproduce that sound. So is that a DNA thing? Has that child just got DNA from both parents and combined it, and now you got a prodigy?
Well, you could say the same thing in the art world.
Sure.
I mean, there are, you know, I have tons of friends who are artists, and their children have that same penchant. Now, as you say, it could be that they're around it a lot and they're, you know, maybe that's what it does, but it's fascinating to think it might be DNA.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you could spend every day in an art museum. I know even if I did that, it wouldn't turn me into an artist. I wouldn't be able to paint just because I sat in the art museum.
Well, you never know. I know you pretty well. You do some artwork. In fact, this is
Yeah.
a Sherry Spencer original. So you do have that talent. I don't know. I guess, when I start reading about it, I'm thinking back to it's Black History Month, and I don't care what your political views are. The fact of the matter is that we treated the black men and women terribly.
Yeah.
There are stories that all of a sudden the Tulsa massacre comes out, and how come I never heard about that?
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that, and I'm just captivated by it. And anyway, so history, and you've added to my intellect when it comes to history, because you do a lot more reading, and you know a lot about local history. And every time I go through a door, there you are going, oh, I was here before you. And Avon Lake is 10 square miles, but man, we were on the lake shore, and at some point there were three-masted schooners going by Avon Point. There were boats going from the War of 1812
right past.
right past here. And
Yep.
if you could drain Lake Erie, and we've got friends of ours, your and mine, who are divers who've
Yep.
dove those wrecks, and they are out there on the bottom of the lake, and that captivates me.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of it because you always say, "Oh, look, a squirrel." It's kind of where I'm at. I'm an old man, and I'm learning at such breakneck speed. For me, I wished I would have cared enough about it when I was, in school, but I didn't.
And I'm not sure it would have mattered because I don't know that our teachers in history were as connected with it as we have
Uh,
become now.
yeah, you might be. You're right. I don't know.
If it's dry to you, you teach it dry. If it's meaningful to you, you find very clever ways to teach it.
I would love to be a history teacher.
I knew a man, I think he's still alive, I'm not sure. He was a professor at Oberlin, and he taught some aspect of history. And the way he would begin a class when he launched a new topic, he would come in dressed as a character appropriate to that time period, and would just come in and just start talking to his class like he was someone from that era, and he's telling them what was going on. Now, if we had teachers like that, don't you think that kids would be a lot more interested? I mean, yeah, you're still going to have the goofballs sitting there making fun of the costume, but you know, they're going to be motor repairmen anyway, so who cares?
I met that guy, I think, Sharon.
Did you?
Sharon, did I just call you Sharon?
Yeah.
Anyway, when I went to the Lorain County Historical Society gathering a couple years, it was before COVID, and we haven't had one since. We had a meeting over at the Carlisle Reservation, and it was the annual. We had food, and Lynn Miller and myself went, and this guy shows up, and he's got George Washington kind of clothing on, and he starts telling stories, and he's a school teacher. I want to say it's out in Eaton,
Oh,
but it's a Lorain County school.
yeah.
And I talked to him afterward because I was, again, history just catches me and reels me in. I was captivated by it. I go, what a great idea, to bring those stories to life for
Yeah.
children. It's like Peter Miller House. We can take children through that home and share with them. But what they really like to hear is the story about the potty.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
because they can visualize that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I
Absolutely.
get so
They like the sheep story now too. I think I finally got that smooth enough. They like the
do
sheep.
you?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Because I added it.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
Yeah, we did away with some of the clothing stories because we just thought we're connecting. So now what I have, a basket of raw wool, and another display. I fill it with different wildflowers, nuts, fruits, and explain to them that this is how they got their clothing. Sheep, and we've got a big picture of sheep, and they're all heavy and woolly and fluffy. And Jack about, well, it's the end of winter and you're entering into spring, and look at these sheep. They can barely walk because they got all this wool all over them. So the farmers lead them down to the lake and they give them a bath and they get them as clean as they can and then they take them up. And I have some old shears that were in the basement of Peter Miller. And it's time to give them a haircut. Do you think they want to get a haircut? And all the kids are, no. I to go, really? At the end of the winter and there's a beautiful spring day, you want to wear your heavy winter jacket outside to play? No. Well, don't you want to take it off? The sheep want to take this wool off too.
Good,
And then,
great.
and then I pass the basket around so they can actually stick their hand in the wool and see what it feels like. And then show them that the different flowers is how they would make dye to color the wool so that they could make different wool. And then I've got, have you ever heard of Doug and Melissa toys?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a Doug and Melissa mini loom, and it's like, oh, you can't see what I'm holding, but it's a mini loom,
Yeah.
and I weave a couple of strands so that they can see it's turning into cloth. And it's like when you made pot holders at the green box when you're a kid, but it's with wool. And they really like that too. And so, oh, can I do it? Can I? So we've done that instead of, some of the other stuff that really just was.
Well, it's brilliant, Sherry. It's brilliant, and really that's how I always seem to use the word tactile. History to me is very tactile, and it's like when I was restoring those limans that I had in my garage. Every time I went out there and I put my hand on the gunnel
Mhm.
and I realized this was built by hand, it was nailed together with copper nails, and it was
Wow.
built in Sandusky, Ohio in 1955. I'm like, it just blows me away. And to this day, those Lyman boats are still some of the most lake-worthy boats ever made.
Wow.
And they would actually they had copper nails somewhere. I have one laying around here. I saved it off my first boat, but they would crawl underneath with a big piece of metal, and then on the outside the guy would hit it, and when the metal nail went through the wood, that metal would cause the end to turn, and it was called clinker built because it would make that noise and it would turn the end of the nail. And that's
Oh,
how they built those boats.
wow.
Yeah, and when I mean, I'd been a boater my whole entire life, or at least around boats my whole life in the lake, and I bet you there's thousands and thousands of people who don't know that. Not that they probably don't care.
Now I know, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were made by copper nails and a hammer and a big heavy piece like a little metal block, and the guy would go underneath and they go clink, and they were called clinker built. And
Wow.
if you find an old lineman today, you can go and find those little copper nails, and because copper doesn't rust, and they're all clenched over at the end. And sometimes you had to go back when the boats started to get older. You had to go back and reset all the nails because they would start to get loose. And
Huh.
there's no caulking. Those boats are made lap strake. So lap strake is here's a piece of side on the boat. This one goes over top of it, creates this lap. Well, when wood swells up, what does it do? It seals. So those boats, in order to, even when I had mine, you had to stick it in the water and let it soak up for a couple hours so the wood would swell up. Otherwise, the water would seep right into the bottom of the boat and it would sink.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Here I
So
am. Go.
you said something about, you didn't say tighten up nails. You said you had to, when the nails came and started getting loose, you had to do what to them?
You had to reclink them. You went back in. You had to reset them all.
So you use the same nails, but you just pound them again with the
Yep,
solid
yep.
on the other
Now, in
side.
some cases, you have to put new nails in and replace them, but then you have to ferret. Ferring it means taking like a compound and going over it and sanding it and then repainting it. I mean, restoring wooden boats is a craft. It's an art,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people still do it to this day because those boats are so damn beautiful. And it's
Wow.
history. It's
Ah,
history. I don't know. I guess that's kind of where I was at when I called you. I just wanted to talk about history.
yeah.
Ain't it great?
Yeah. It
Uh,
really is.
And you know so much about it. We need to can this conversation somehow and go on a history tour, you know. Hey, speaking
Speaking
of
of,
that,
yeah,
how's the history mystery tour coming?
good. Kristen came over 2 or 3 days ago. I can't remember exactly what day now. And she got all the books that I had here and took them to, I think, to her house so that as soon as Shay gets the printed piece, she can start making packets, putting them together. And so
She's amazing. I mean, she's such a doer.
if we do our Black Whale in again wherever,
She's in it.
we need, oh no, I mean, we need to put her in charge of sales, ticket sales,
Oh,
because I did such a horrible job of, I mean, when you do stuff, you really learn where your weaknesses are and where you really shouldn't be touching. And that was, I shouldn't, people are handing me cash and envelopes and tickets back and getting more tickets and swapping tickets. And in the end, I'm looking at all this going, I have no
well,
idea
and I hold you
who
completely responsible for that because, you only wrote the play, found all the actors, wrote their parts, and for a great much of the time, you were the director. All right. And so I'm ashamed that you couldn't sell tickets too.
and that was an important lesson that I needed to learn. You cannot be a director. And I know there are those who have done it, Hollywood greats, not me, and I would never recommend it to anybody else. It's just not, it's not right. It's not
I,
good.
I saw Dave Frank at the MGP, the Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Yeah.
and I thanked him yet one more time for what he and Patty had done. I said to him
Oh, yeah.
clearly, without Patty, we would have never pulled that off. Without Dave building us stuff, we would have never pulled that off. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that was what, 2 years ago now in October?
It's had only been 2 years
Yeah,
because it
I
was
think
before.
so.
Oh, it was
Not this
before
past
COVID?
October, but the October before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I, as you said, we could have done it every weekend for a month and still had sellouts.
Yeah. And in fact, Carol Nussel, every from time to time, she'll say, people are still asking me, are they going to do it again? I didn't get to see it. Are they going to do it again? Yeah, it's not they didn't get to see it. It's that they went, oh, what's that? I'm not going. Until they heard other people say, yeah, we went, we had a lot of fun. And now all of a sudden they want to go. I don't feel that sorry for them.
No, and that's the way it works. I mean, I'm not so naive to think that our marketing is so brilliant that it draws everybody in. But as you and I have talked, after that first show, everybody heard about it and it started to gain some leg.
Yeah.
And then people started showing up. And
Yeah.
well,
We had
wasn't
waited
that a
for it.
fun thing?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a
It
fun
really
thing.
was.
So, and we just had you did a great job of putting a great cast together, and
But we
all
got to
the
find
little.
to replace those guys,
Yeah, it's hard.
And not just anybody can do that. And they
Well,
can do
there's a
it
few
drunk.
people that
So
we could maybe convince, you know, but I don't know. Maybe we talk to Kat Geib over at the MGP and get her take on it. But it's just it was a lot of fun, and you did a great job of writing that play. You wrote a play. I
it
mean,
was
think
fun.
about that.
Yeah. See, COVID produces something good when you got to stay in your house
I learned how to carve.
or write a play.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was fun because, once I get started, there were really almost no interruptions because there's no place to go. Nobody's coming over, nobody's calling because nobody can do anything. So it's all downtime and in a way
Well,
it
I'm
was.
looking forward to the History Mystery Tour. That'll be a great time, and I'm hoping that raising money is one thing, and I get it, and we aren't going to get rich on that, but we're going to be teaching history.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? And we'll be out there. We'll be
Yeah,
visible again.
yeah,
Historical Society is alive and they're doing things and
yeah.
they're on top of it.
So much history in Lorain County
Oh,
that I
yeah.
don't even know about. I've often
Yeah.
thought, what are the oldest houses in Lorain County? And can we put together a tour? You know, let's go to this house and a tour of that house. And then, and you make your rounds. But
Yeah.
my brain goes faster, but you and I both know getting boots on the ground is always
Yeah.
difficult. And somebody asked me the other day about, oh, I know, I ran into some lady at Stocker last night, and we were chatting, and I told her we were going. She wanted to know about the concert. And I go, we're only going to do one this year, and that's the Doobie Brothers on July 20th. And she wrote it down, which is great. And she goes, well, why don't you do more? You used to do 3 or 4. I go, yeah, but it's a lot of work, and we can't get enough help, and we don't make any money.
Right.
It's I make more money for my birthday
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
than I do
Exactly.
doing these events.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I just wanted to chat with you about it, and I'm going to see if I can make some kind of a thing out of this. And
Well, and if there are going to be fewer concerts this summer, maybe we could think about doing a play at Chris Winery in the summer.
I don't know
And
why not.
and I like your idea of talking to Kat, is her name with
Yep,
MGP,
cat guide.
and see who we could pull, because we need two gangsta thug guys,
Yep,
convincing gangsta thug guys.
and we'd have to have somebody direct it. I don't know who directs all their stuff, but they did a great job with the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I'm glad I kept thinking, with my wife traveling a lot, it was hard for us to always get our act together. For she's gone now until tomorrow night, but because of that, I can't always commit. And then I'm so glad we went, because it was really a well done performance by not just the actors, but they had a pit orchestra, and they
Oh,
did a great job, and
yeah,
they had great sets and great costumes, and
yeah.
it was just, you think about it, it's the Mighty Goliath Productions, and their first shows were the minstrel shows.
I know. I wrote an article about that in our newsletter, which
Yeah.
hasn't come out. Our newsletter. I talked to Kenzie.
Oh,
She
you
said
did?
no. Yeah, she said no one has given her anything but me, and she doesn't have enough with just that to publish a
Well, I'll get on Dave, and
letter.
yeah, we should have another one here pretty quick, right?
We should
Spring.
have had last month. It should have been out.
Okay.
Yeah, but Dave told me he has. He says, "Oh, I don't have a long article, but I got two short ones." I go, "Dave, two short ones are every bit as interesting." And he told me what they were, and I said, "Those are both interesting."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, okay."
I'm
But
proud of
then,
our newsletter. I think between you and Kenzie and Dave, I think everybody does an amazing job. And again, we're back to the same old saw that it's hard to create stuff with you're by yourself.
yeah,
How's your house coming?
I've been working on the rock wall.
You're the Rockwell goddess.
I feel like I'm just rocking my life away. So lately, sometimes I get these really harebrained ideas and fears that I don't know where they come from. I'm doing all these rocks and just hauling them up the steps, load at a time. I'm thinking, what happens if I get all these rocks onto the wall and it's too heavy for the house and it collapses down into the first floor while I'm sitting down there and I get crushed?
What a way to go. Now that we've documented it, if that happens, we'll have proof that you didn't do it right.
Well, it's that I put too much weight on the walls,
Yeah.
I guess. Do you think that would happen?
No. The worst that could happen is they'd come unglued and fall on the floor.
And sometimes they do. And I think it might be the type of rock, or I've just got sometimes I get some bad tubes of glue. One of them was already hardened in the
Oh,
tube.
that's
And
not good.
no,
Yeah.
that's not good. But it's coming. I need to go back down to the lake and bring up probably 32 more rocks to finish, and I'll
You
be
know
done.
that house on Norman, right?
Which
All
house?
the
The
way
one
to
next
the
to Bernie?
south end, southwest side on Norman Drive
Yeah,
with,
near
with
Bernie.
the with the lake stone.
Yeah, yeah.
My dad told me the story on that guy built it, and he would brought every single rock in that house from the lake.
Really?
Yeah.
That's Bernie's next door neighbor.
Yeah.
The house. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Well,
she lived on Norman.
yeah, she bought a little cottage, and it's been under renovation for years now.
It looks
And
nice. She's done a lot of work.
yep, yeah.
Well, we have to get Bernie in our show too. She's the only professional that we really have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I enjoyed talking with you, and I'll see if I can find that other video. But it's funny how our the history of this city has brought you and I together in so many different ways. We're the only two history nerds that really can talk to one another.
It probably sounds like a foreign language to other people, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember when Jeff Sigsworth, he's with the Lorain County Historical
Yeah.
Society, and he's become a kind of a friend. We talk a lot on social media, and I met him, and he was the MC for this Lorain County Historical Society get together, and he said, "Welcome, fellow history nerds."
Yeah,
And I thought about that. I go, "Yeah, pretty much,
that's it. That's
pretty
us.
much." All right. Well, I'll let you go, but thanks for spending a few minutes. I think this has been fun. We need to do this every once in a while,
Yeah.
and we'll see what comes of it and see if I can make something watchable out of it. Because I think I enjoyed this, didn't you?
Yeah. You mean you're going to edit this and make it into an MOH?
No, it's not gonna be an MOH.
Oh.
It's gonna be a standalone, maybe I'll call it, bullshitting about our, 40 minutes with Sherry and Tony who don't know anything or
Oh,
something. I don't
yeah.
know.
They
I
don't
don't
know
know.
their arse from a hole in the ground.
That's right. That's right.
Well, first see if you can find that utterly useless one because we were laughing when we were doing that, so I think it probably
Well,
was.
and it's not an either or thing. This is something I'm going to do anyway, and
Uh,
then the MOH one is another MOH, so we can dust that off and bring it back out. All right, kiddo.
all
Well,
right.
be safe. Don't let your rocks fall. I'll see
But I
you
love the
later.
story. I love the story about the Norman house. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great story. And my dad told it to me, and every time I go by, it had that red paneling on the
Yeah.
front, and then
Yeah.
that spiral, almost like a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. One rock at a time.
Wow.
All right, bye bye.